The awakening. The stars themselves seemed to whisper warnings across the vast expanse of Coalition-controlled space. For 3,000 cycles, the Galactic Coalition had reigned supreme, its 100-member species united under the iron fist of the Dominion Council. They had catalogued every star, mapped every nebula, and conquered every world worth conquering. The universe, they believed, held no more surprises. Commander Xelith of the Coalition Navy stood rigid on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, his crystalline form reflecting the soft blue light of nearby stars. His species, the Vorn, prided themselves on their ability to perceive energy patterns invisible to lesser beings. Today, something felt wrong. The anomaly appeared first as a whisper in the void, detected by long-range sensors stationed at the edge of Coalition space. The void sector, as it was known, had been deemed worthless, a stretch of empty darkness between galaxies where nothing lived, nothing grew, and nothing mattered. Yet now, something stirred in that endless black. Energy signature confirmed, reported Lieutenant Kraz, his tentacles dancing across the control interface. Unknown configuration. It doesn't match any known propulsion system in our databases. Xelith's crystal facets darkened with concern. Distance. 27 light units and closing. Whatever it is, it's moving faster than anything we've recorded. The Coalition fleet, 37 vessels strong, adjusted formation. Dreadnoughts took point positions while carriers launched their fighter screens. The Eternal Dominion hung back, protected by layers of defensive craft. Standard procedure for first contact situations, though Xelith doubted this would be a peaceful encounter. The object emerged from the void like a predator breaking surface tension. It was massive, larger than their biggest battlecruiser, yet moved with an unsettling grace. Its hull appeared to be carved from obsidian darkness itself, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Strange geometric patterns etched across its surface pulsed with deep crimson energy. By the ancient cores, breathed Tactical Officer Marin, her scales shifting to a pale blue of fear. That design, it's almost organic. The alien vessel slowed, coming to a complete stop just outside weapons range. For long moments, nothing happened. The Coalition fleet held position, weapons charged but not aimed. First contact protocols demanded restraint until hostile intent was proven. Then, without warning, every communication system across the fleet activated simultaneously. The voice that came through wasn't transmitted. It simply existed in every speaker, every receiver, every mind capable of understanding language. Coalition vessels, you stand in human space. Withdraw immediately. The bridge fell silent. Xelith's crystal form flickered with confusion. Human. Translator malfunction. Negative, Commander, Kraz replied, checking his instruments. Translation matrices confirm. The term human corresponds to species Delta 77. A chill ran through every being who heard those words. Species Delta 77. Earth origin. Status. Extinct. Eliminated during the Great Purge of Cycle 2247, when they had refused to submit to Coalition authority. Their homeworld had been rendered uninhabitable, their colonies destroyed, their civilization erased from the galaxy. Impossible, Xelith stated flatly. Humanity was extinct before I was hatched. This is deception. The unknown vessel responded by revealing its name, projected in burning letters across the void. Phoenix rising. You believed us dead, the voice continued, carrying undertones of barely controlled rage. You celebrated our destruction. You divided our worlds among yourselves like carrion feeders. But humanity does not die easily. We adapted. We evolved. We survived in places your kind cannot imagine. Admiral Thek, commanding from the Dreadnought Supremacy's fist, broke protocol. This is Coalition space. You will power down your weapons and prepare for boarding, or... The Admiral never finished his threat. Phoenix Rising's hull came alive with energy, geometric patterns flaring to life. A single beam of impossible darkness lanced out, striking the Supremacy's fist amidships. The dreadnought didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, leaving only scattered atoms and a rapidly cooling cloud of particles. Panic erupted across the fleet. Ships began emergency maneuvers, weapon systems targeting the human vessel. But Phoenix Rising moved like liquid mercury, evading every lock, every missile, every energy blast. Its own weapons were unlike anything in Coalition archives. Beams of pure entropy that aged targets to dust in seconds, projectiles that phased through shields as if they didn't exist, and something worse, a field that turned a frigate's own reactor into a miniature supernova. "Cease fire," Xelith commanded, watching another cruiser implode. "All ships, cease fire immediately." The human vessel stopped its attack as quickly as it had begun. Of the 37 Coalition ships, only 23 remained. The others were gone, not just destroyed, but erased with a thoroughness that defied conventional physics. "You asked for demonstration," the human voice said, now carrying a tone of grim satisfaction. "Consider this mercy. We could have eliminated your entire fleet in the opening salvo." Xelith struggled to maintain composure. "What do you want?" "Justice. Recompense. Recognition." The Phoenix Rising moved closer, its dark hull seeming to drink in the light of nearby stars. "But first, we want you to understand something. When your coalition destroyed Earth, when you hunted our colonies, when you declared humanity extinct, you made a mistake. You drove us into the dark places between stars, into the void you deemed worthless. And there, in that darkness, we found something your civilization could never comprehend." "What did you find?" Xelith asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Ourselves. Unleashed. Unbound by your laws, your limitations, your concepts of what's possible. We learned to harness dark energy, to manipulate quantum uncertainty, to treat the laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolutes. Your coalition created its own nemesis." The Phoenix Rising began to pulse with new energy patterns, and space itself seemed to ripple around it. "This is merely our herald. One ship, sent to announce our return. Behind us, in the void you ignored, waits a fleet that has spent generations preparing for this moment. We offer you one chance. Acknowledge humanity's sovereignty, return our worlds, and submit to justice for your crimes." "And if we refuse?" Xelith asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you will learn why the darkness between stars should have remained unexplored. You will understand why humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our numbers. It was our ability to survive, adapt, and evolve beyond your comprehension. And you will discover that extinction is not the worst fate that can befall a species." The Phoenix Rising began to withdraw, sliding back toward the void from which it had emerged. "You have one coalition standard cycle to deliver your answer. Choose wisely. Humanity has returned, and we are no longer the species you thought you destroyed." As the human warship vanished into the darkness, leaving only quantum distortions in its wake, Commander Xelith stared at the empty space where 14 of his ships had once existed. The universe suddenly felt much larger, much darker, and infinitely more dangerous. The Coalition had ruled for 3,000 cycles. In a single encounter lasting less than one standard hour, that rule had been revealed as an illusion. Somewhere in the void, humanity waited, changed, evolved, and hungry for justice. The age of Coalition supremacy was over. The age of reckoning had begun. Reckoning's dawn. The grand spire of the Coalition Council pierced the atmosphere of Nexus Prime like a needle through fabric. Within its crystalline walls, representatives from 100 species gathered in emergency session. Fear hung in the air like a toxic gas, palpable, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. Supreme Counselor Vectar stood at the center of the amphitheater, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under harsh lights. Around him, holographic displays showed the aftermath of the Phoenix Rising encounter. Debris fields where proud warships once sailed, energy readings that defied scientific understanding, and most disturbing of all, the complete absence of any trackable signature leading back to the human vessel. Order. Vectar's mandibles clicked sharply. We will have order. The babble of alien voices gradually subsided. Representatives who had ruled entire star systems now huddled like frightened prey animals. Their earlier arrogance evaporated like morning mist. The situation is unprecedented, Vectar continued, his compound eyes scanning the assembly. But we must not succumb to panic. The Coalition has weathered storms before. Not like this, interrupted Ambassador Queel of the Thernian Collective, her feathered form trembling. You weren't there. You didn't see how they destroyed our ships. Physics itself bent to their will. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Vectar raised a clawed appendage for silence. Perhaps we should examine how we arrived at this moment. Admiral Koss, present the historical record. The elderly Saurian commander activated the central holoprojector. Images filled the air, archive footage from over 800 cycles ago, when humanity had been judged a threat to galactic stability. The humans were problematic. Koss began, his voice gravelly with age. They refused integration into the Coalition. Their concepts of individual freedom and self-determination were deemed incompatible with collective governance. When diplomatic solutions failed, the Council authorized military intervention. The hologram showed Earth as it once was, blue and green, teeming with life. Then came the bombardment. Antimatter weapons, viral bombs, atmospheric incinerators. The planet transformed into a charred husk within days. We were thorough, Koss continued. Their Mars colony fell next. Then the Jupiter moon settlements. The outer system habitats were hunted down systematically. Some humans escaped in generation ships, but our hunter-killer fleets tracked them across decades. By cycle 2247, humanity was declared extinct with 99.97% certainty. Then where did they come from? Demanded Counselor Hex, her crystalline form pulsing with agitation. How did they survive? The chamber fell silent as a new voice entered their minds, not transmitted, but somehow present, just as the phoenix rising had spoken. Would you like to know the truth? Panic erupted. Security forces raised weapons, scanning for intruders. But the voice continued, calm and inexorable. Your hunters were efficient, but not thorough. They followed obvious trails, tracked conventional signatures, searched in places your limited minds expected refugees to hide. You never looked into the true darkness. Holographic displays flickered and changed, showing regions of space the Coalition had deemed empty, the vast voids between galaxies, the dark matter halos, the spaces where reality itself grew thin. 12 generation ships made it to the void, the voice explained. Not the crude vessels your records show, but ships that learned to evolve, to adapt. Ships that found things in the darkness your science says cannot exist. Ancient artifacts, dormant technologies, pathways through dimensions your mathematics cannot describe. Images appeared, ghostly, hard to focus on, showing structures that hurt to perceive. Cities built in folded space, vessels that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Humans who had been changed by their long exile, enhanced by technologies that made Coalition science look like stone tools. 800 cycles in the dark, the voice continued. 40 generations of humanity, shaped by loss, driven by memory, united by purpose. We learned patience. We studied our enemy. We prepared. Supreme Counselor Vectar found his voice. What do you want? What we have always wanted. Freedom, justice, our place among the stars. The voice hardened. You have 12 standard hours remaining to consider our terms. But understand this, we are no longer asking. We are telling. The presence vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. In its wake, every display in the chamber showed the same image. A star map of Coalition space, with human symbols appearing in the voids between settled systems. Hundreds of them. Thousands. By the ancients, whispered Admiral Koss. They're already here. They've been here all along. Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some called for immediate military action, others for negotiation. A few suggested surrender. But Commander Xelith, who had witnessed the Phoenix rising firsthand, stood and spoke the words none wanted to hear. We cannot fight them. Their technology transcends our understanding. Their presence violates our concepts of space and time. And most terrifying of all, they're right. We created this enemy through our own actions. Surely we can negotiate, began Counselor Hex, with beings who watched us celebrate their extinction, who spent 800 cycles preparing for this moment. Xelith's crystal form dimmed. We have no leverage, no military advantage, no moral ground to stand on. The debate raged for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. As the deadline approached, Supreme Counselor Vectar transmitted the Coalition's response into the void. We accept your terms. The answer came not in words, but in action. Across Coalition space, human vessels began to emerge from hidden places, from dark matter clouds, from folded dimensions, from the spaces between spaces. They didn't attack. They simply appeared, established positions, and waited. The Phoenix rising materialized above Nexus Prime, its dark hull reflecting the planet's light like oil on water. This time, when it spoke, the voice carried a different tone, not threatening, but final. The Coalition, as you know it, is ended. Individual species may maintain their sovereignty, but the age of forced unity is over. Humanity claims no empire, seeks no subjects. We will take only what was ours, plus systems sufficient for our security. But know this, we will be watching, always. Documents appeared in every Coalition database simultaneously. Treaties, terms, new boundaries. The legal framework for a new galactic order, implemented with quantum-level encryption that would take lifetimes to break. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, Vectar stood at his window, watching human vessels patrol the skies that had been Coalition territory just days before. The empire that had lasted 3,000 cycles had fallen in less than 2 days, not through warfare, but through the inevitable weight of its own crimes coming home. In the growing light, he could see construction beginning on what would become humanity's embassy. A structure that seemed to exist partially in dimensions his eyes couldn't quite perceive. The message was clear. Humanity had returned, but they were no longer the species the Coalition had tried to destroy. They were something else, something that had gestated in darkness, nurtured by exile, and emerged transformed. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of Coalition supremacy was over. The age of shared stars had begun. And in the depths of space, where darkness ruled eternal, humanity's true fleet waited, not for war, but to ensure that never again would one species decide the fate of another. They had become the guardians of the void, the watchers in the darkness, the insurance against future tyranny. The Phoenix had risen, and this time it would not burn alone.